Senator Mushahid Hussain Sayeed Sahab.
Thank you, Patafi Saab, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening to all the participants, and thank you very much, Asfar Ahsan Saab and the Corporate Pakistan Group for taking this very timely initiative on a situation which has changed very rapidly. And I feel that these are probably the most significant developments for us in the region since 9/11. Let me start first briefly with a very geopolitical context which defines what's happening in the region. I think we are seeing the beginnings of a new Cold War, which has been imposed by the United States to counter and contain China. And they're trying to cobble an alliance of India, of Japan, of Australia, and other countries who may be willing to join in, although not very many takers right now, but that is very clear. And they have now defined China as their principal enemy and their principal adversary on the economic, political, and strategic front. So that is very clear, and this Cold War has now come to our part of the world. That's one. Secondly, we also see a very clear shift in the global balance of economic and political power away from the West to the East in what is now termed as the 21st, the Asian century. And third, we see, I think that's very important, as a counter to that, the initiative of China, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is probably the most significant developmental and diplomatic initiative of the 21st century, which involves over 100 countries, in which CPEC is the centerpiece and flagship. And we are the one country among all these countries which have a land link and a sea link with China through Gwadar and then through Gilgit also. So we have a special position in that, and we are the hub of the emerging regional connectivity with South Asia and Central Asia. When we come to these developments, I think 4 developments are very key, and that are somehow they've taken place one after the other in a short span of a few weeks. The Afghan peace process, in which Pakistan has played a key role, which has taken pressure off Pakistan because the Americans need us for the talks with the Taliban, and because of which Trump was hoping to win the election, but I think it's more likely now that he will lose the election because of the COVID-19 situation. But anyway, the American flank is covered, and the Americans are not endorsing what Indians are saying about Pakistan because they need us for the Afghanistan situation. Second, of course, is this Ladakh standoff, which took place, the Indian aggression against China, and they got a big thrashing, and that has shaken up the Indian military and security and political establishment because they didn't expect this kind of response. And I think that they are still trying to recover from that. And that has been a good timely warning because India, as the bully of the bloc, was bullying smaller countries like Pakistan, like Nepal, and also brutalizing occupied Kashmir. The third, of course, is this Iran-India thing. I think it should be very clear that in May 2016, Modi went to Tehran. And this was a trilateral conference. Ashraf Ghani from Afghanistan, Rouhani from Iran, and Modi from India. And they had agreed on this rail track from Chabahar to Zahedan, 628 kilometers, close to the Pakistan border. And this was to be the alternative route to Central Asia eventually. And they were also going to invest in their oil fields and gas fields. And Modi has reneged on all these commitments because of American pressure. So he has been offloaded, and I think that's a positive development for us. And with that is the Iran-China link up. Iran, China are not just 2 countries, they're civilizations with the histories of 3,000 or 4,000 years, up to 5,000 years. And the way they played the cards well, the Americans pushed them to the wall, and they have this team up. This has been very positive from Pakistan's perspective for a number of reasons. Number one, it secures our Western flanks. There was always this thing about Afghanistan. There was problems also in Iran. And that Western flank, with China's presence in Iran for the next few decades, and China is our best friend and will remain our best friend, I think, because we have no other strategic option other than China. This will cover our Western flank. And secondly, it secures CPEC, it secures Gwadar, and Chabahar was supposed to be India's base, not for naval, not for any business reasons. They wanted to use that to destabilize Pakistan. Kulbhushan Yadav came from Chabahar. So I think that has been also very positive for us, that eviction of India from that area, and the Indian influence will be less so in that context. So Pakistan's overall has gotten what I call strategic space, a geopolitical breather, and to conduct its foreign policy in a more effective manner. So what does Pakistan now need to do in this very conducive environment? I think it's very clear. We have to our strategic choice is very clear. We have to stand by China, because China is a strategic partner. America is only a tactical relationship. Whenever they need us, they use us, and then they discard us, and they do not stand by us. And especially vis-a-vis India, their choice for the region is India, not Pakistan. So we have to be very clear. Secondly, we have unfortunately do not have a regional foreign policy. Smaller countries of South Asia like Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, as well as the Central Asian republics. And even with Iran and Russia, we have had an off-again, on-again relationship. That has to be rectified because we have no fundamental conflict of interest with them, with Iran or with Russia. And also, I think 5th of August is coming up, the first anniversary of Modi's annexation of occupied Kashmir. I think a Kashmir policy with clarity is lacking. And I think this flip-flop we saw in the Kulbhushan Yadav case, a special ordinance was passed that maybe he will give a review petition. And then we opened up trade for Afghanistan through the Wagah border, and it was done on 13th of July, which was Kashmir Martyrs' Day. And then again, the Indians even refused the consular access. So you see, we are making those concessions, and we should not forget that Kulbhushan Yadav is not just a spy, but he's also a terrorist who was involved in killing Pakistanis at the behest of RAW. So it was state terrorism. So I think that in the past, there had been spies from KGB and CIA, but they were just spies for the country. But this was a two-in-one operation. And we have to be very clear when we handle India. Earlier also, we had a misreading about India because we felt that Modi was the one we could do business with and so forth. So I think on the issue of US, on the issue of India, we should be very clear. And also, these developments have aggravated India's isolation. 2 days ago, I was watching very carefully, Modi had an India-European Union summit, virtually. And he was expecting support for that. There was no reference to Ladakh, no reference to any so-called Indo-Pacific. And by the way, this Indo-Pacific term is a misnomer because there's no such thing as India-Pacific. India is not part of the Pacific Ocean. It was Asia-Pacific. And they've just used the term Indo-Pacific because they want to rope in India as part of their greater strategy in this region where naval power is going to be extremely important. There are already 120 warships operating in the Indian Ocean region. So this is going to be the area of strategic competition. But in this area, you can see the Chinese presence and Chinese role is going to be extremely important. And if Pakistan and China are together and coupled with our flanks being covered with Iran and also with Afghanistan, we have a better relationship. I think then Pakistan's position is strengthened. We have strategic space for the next year and a half, 2 years. We should use that to have an imaginative, dynamic, and I would say a foreign policy with a lot of gumption that we should take clear positions without any oohs and ahs or without wavering on the core issues and core interests of Pakistan. Because what has happened in the region is now protecting, preserving, and promoting our core interests. And China has given us diplomatic air cover in the G20, in the UN Security Council, in FATF, in the Nuclear Suppliers Group. So China is indispensable for Pakistan as a strategic partner which protects Pakistan. And we also have given support to China on Tibet, Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and so forth. So we also protect their core interests. So we have to be very clear about our relationships. And I think there's not a question of any choices. In my view, we made a strategic choice in 1963 when President Ayub Khan was there, when Foreign Minister Bhutto was there, and that was that we have to go with China, and that relationship has withstood the test of time, and it has delivered results and preserved Pakistan's national security. It has preserved Pakistan's economic security now through CPEC. So I think the way forward is very clear, and it's a conducive environment where Pakistan can play a meaningful role and have a more autonomous foreign policy. And let us be very clear, there is a relative decline of the US and the West, which is there. The retrenchment of the United States from the region, whether it's Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the peaceful rise of China are concurrent developments. Thank you very much. And I look forward to a productive discussion. Finally, the question that you asked, I think that Modi is a temporary phenomena. He has damaged India more than any other Indian leader. And India is a very big and diverse country. I don't see that with Modi's presence there, the fault lines are going to be very sharpened. And India has still to take the strategic decision whether they go with the Asian century or whether they go with the new Cold War as a cat's paw of the United States. So once that decision is clearly made, right now Modi has made the decision to go with the Americans, and he's licking his wound because of the Chinese and because of his animus towards Pakistan and Muslims. But I think the jury is still out historically in the next few years which way India would go. So let's hope that perhaps with the change of regime in India, things might be better for the future.
Thank you very much, Senator Mushahid Hussain Syed Sahab, especially for the note of optimism at the very end, because India is a riddle that doesn't seem to be resolving itself.